Every founder wants a high-performing culture, but most never actually define what that is. I'm Stefan with Drew Sanford, and this is the Founders Table.
Welcome, everybody. Today at the Founders Table, we are going to talk about an awesome topic, and it's getting yourself right, getting your materials right, getting your employees to understand exactly what is going on in the business. And I feel like a lot of times I have tons of issues over the years not being organized and not telling people exactly what we expect and how we expect it.
You not organized?
Never.
That's hard to believe.
Can you imagine business owners that are not organized?
Yeah, and like they have ADD or they have all these ideas in their minds.
I've never met one.
I've met one or two. But I am excited for this conversation because clarity brings distinction. And when you have that, you have something you're running towards. It helps the whole culture. And so I'm excited to have this conversation.
Absolutely. This is something that I've messed up in over the years. And I find a lot of people that do this, and I think a lot of people don't do it right. And I'm not saying this is the end all be all and this is how it exactly has to be, but this is what I found that works really well for me. And you know, like I go back to like when I've messed up. If you've had employees and you've done things and you've got rid of an employee, you know, and it just happens. If you're starting to go through people like, man, they don't understand what I'm wanting. They don't understand what the goal is. I just don't understand why they're being dumb. Mm-hmm. They're not getting it. It's probably you.
Yeah, it's a lot of conversation that we'll have today is about unspoken expectations.
Yep.
Is that we bring somebody in, we want them to do these certain things. We have in our mind of what this looks like, mm-hmm. and we put the whole picture together in our mind. We're putting them into a place, and when they're not hitting at all cylinders, they're not doing what we think is in our mind should be happening.
Correct.
Then it causes frustration. Yep. And so we're trying to figure out and work through, even within our company, how do we create those clear expectations. Yep. So when we bring somebody on, they know where we're headed. We're probably going to have some grace up front, mm-hmm. Because they don't have everything that we've been thinking about and dreaming about and planning for months and months and months, but they have the steps to take in order to make it happen.
Yeah. And why expectations matter. I feel like we've been kind of systematically going through a business, mm-hmm. and we're getting a lot of feedback from different people online talking about this, saying, oh man, this hits right on. So one thing that I really want to talk about today, and this is why we kind of wrote it out how we did, like what exactly do you do to get your business organized on paper to then help your employees to really start setting this up? I feel like we've talked about this in a lot of ways, kind of beating around the bush about it. Yeah. But when I sit down with a coaching client or when I sit down with somebody that's in this situation, or when we started Elevate, like we literally started with the step-by-step. One, what's our culture and values? You know, mission and values, culture, all that type of stuff. So, Stefan, when you wrote that stuff out, you wrote most of Elevate's out. What was going through your mind? What were you wanting to do? What led you to write what you wrote?
Yeah, we had a guest on here recently named Aaron, mm-hmm. and he started a company, and he was like, you know, me and my partner, we're going to start this company, and we're going to selfishly make it what we wish that every company was. Or if we were to jump into a company, these are the steps, these are the missions, these are the values that we would want to jump into. And I think that's the first thought and first conversation that we had, mm-hmm. when we were building out the mission, the values for who we are. And
how did you do that? Like literally, like if somebody's watching this podcast today, what does that look like? What did you do?
Everybody, whenever you're building a business, you have to find a problem.
Yep.
You find a problem in an industry, you find a problem with a product that you can fix. And then you build your mission, your vision, your values around that. You mm-hmm. say, this is the problem that we're facing. And this is what we can do to differentiate ourselves in the midst of a whole industry, mm-hmm. to actually bring a real solution.
I'm throwing you completely on the spot right now. For Elevate, do you remember what that is? If I said, what's the mission, vision, value statements? I mean, I know you have a technical written down, but
absolutely. I mean, the biggest focus for Elevate is that within the real estate industry, when it comes to the least trusted industries throughout all employment, real estate is one of the least trusted, right? So you have doctors, you have teachers, you have different people, that are trusted entities, and then you have lawyers, you have real estate, you have car salesmen that are the least trusted. And so our mission and goal was really to provide a value that we're going to provide free value to people. We're going to show them here, we're going to open up the curtain to where they can see the full process and show them, here, this is all the steps we do. We're not afraid of somebody taking it or stealing it, because we are going to do the best at every step that we can, so that you can have full transparency, so that the client can have full transparency, and they can trust every step of the way. So as we were building out our mission and values and our goals, we wanted to first stay, us as humans, we want to be trustworthy. We want to be people that people can look to. This is a big transaction. This is something that there's a lot of moving pieces. And so we want to, first and foremost, we want our clients to know that they can trust us. When we say something, that's what happens. When we're not pushing people along, we're being fully transparent, and we're making sure that they understand this is where we're at. We're the professionals. We do this 100 times a year. When you sell a house, you sell one every 8-10 years. And there's a lot of things that change in the middle there. And so we want to do every single step professionally, so that that you can trust us.
Yep. So that elevates mission vision.
Absolutely.
So I think if you're a plumber or you're a whatever company it is, you start with your mission statement, you start with your values, things along those lines, right?
Absolutely.
So get those written down on paper. And again, I'm going to reiterate it for a second. We're starting at the beginning, and we're starting at the top, we're starting at the big, and then we're going to start working our way down as this goes through. And I think this is super, super important. And if you're watching this and you're like, man, there's an idiot. Maybe I am. But to me, this is one of those foundational things that if you get it right, this is going to allow you to scale. It's going to allow you to grow. It's going to have the business work for you instead of you work for the business.
Yes.
This is one of those really specific types of conversations that if we can put some homework in, put some extra work in, it's really going to help solidify these things. The next thing,
even as we talk about these different expectations and the people we bring on, when you have that clear vision, that clear focus, it's a filter. It helps you.
It's always your North Star.
Yeah.
Every question can go back. Should we do this? Does it align with our mission vision?
It keeps you out of a lot of trouble too.
It does.
Because when there's certain things that pop up, you're like, ooh, that could be a good opportunity. This looks interesting. This is a really cool thing. If it doesn't fit in that filter, then it just can't happen within the company.
Yep.
There's a lot of times where we have cool opportunities that could take a lot of our time, energy, focus, resource. And if we just run after every single one, then we're not going to be a professional.
Back to the ADD of a business owner, right? Like, oh, I can make money here. Oh, I can do this. I can make a little bit here.
And some of those opportunities do work within your filter.
That's right.
And you can absolutely
capitalize on those. But sometimes, I agree. Going back to the North Star of why we're doing this, what's the mission vision? If it fits into that, all right, let's look at it. If it doesn't fit into that, and let's pause that. Let's get home first. Because and now I'm going down a complete different rabbit hole, but I think as entrepreneurs, we see different ideas or products like that or opportunities like that, and we go, I can make money doing this. Yeah, you can. But once you kind of get the rock and the main business up and going and it's working for itself and you can then have time, that's when you can really start stepping in some of those.
Yeah.
And it's such an easy thing to get in there and go, oh, I could go do this too. And then the next thing you know, you got 10 different things going on. You're running in circles. You're not getting anywhere. There's no traction. You're spinning your wheels, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So
now with you, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, just on this note, real quick, you were in an industry previously that you saw problems throughout the industry.
Yeah.
And so as you built that core company, you started to build an ecosystem around it of opportunities where you were making a difference.
But that was, we were in the propane industry, and it's like at first we had a retail where we deliver gas from our supply to other people's. Well, we couldn't get propane delivery trucks made right. So we started making our own propane delivery trucks. Well, then when we did that, we realized, man, if we don't own the semis to get the gas from the pipeline to us, we had a bad winter. We had a bunch of issues, and we almost ran out of gas, so we couldn't deliver gas to our customers. And then we had the city of Springfield call us and like, we can't get gas. Like, we need help too, because they were supplementing propane in the natural gas source to bring that together to, with craziness going on. So we bought semis. That was the next step. Well, then the next step after that. So we grew in a field, just kind of working backwards through the whole food chain of everything, and did it that way. And there's a reason to do that sometimes, and there's a reason not to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was great when we did it. It made sense. But we had the main business running good. Then we did the next business. When that started running good, we got into transport, which kicked me in the teeth. I've never lost so much money in my life. And then, you know what I mean? And you kind of learn and adapt. But we always had one business built on another business built on another business. Yeah. And when you do it and you don't have stuff up and running well, that's where you get yourself in trouble.
Absolutely. But the same thing is true even with bringing people on. Like that North Star, that filter, as you're bringing on employees, bringing on staff, it's just as important that you're not just chasing after certain things that you don't quite need yet. You have the system in place, you find the need, and then you get the right person in place.
And that's the root cause of today's topic, I think. You know, you've let's say you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 employees. You've never put this stuff in writing. This guy sucks. I'm going to get a different employer. This person's not doing what I wish they would do. Da 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 da. And you've gone through a bunch of people, and you always hear the grumbling around there. Well, if I do what I do what you want me to do, but I don't know what you want me to do. You know what I mean? And like, as an owner, you hear that stuff, right? And you blame the employee. Well, you should listen to me better. Well, I'm going to disagree with that and say if you follow the steps, you're going to outline it, and if you can get your foundation set, then you can really feel that way. And a few, I don't even know what episode it was, but a few episodes ago, I made the comment, when you have it all written out, you don't have to fire anybody. They're going to fire themselves. And that's truly what we're trying to do. Because again, do you want to work for the business, or do you want the business to work for you? If the business is working for you, the business knows what's acceptable or what's not acceptable, and the employees know what's acceptable or not acceptable, and they will fire themselves. You don't have to be that guy that has to go chase people around saying you're not doing your job, get out of here, kick rocks. You don't have to be that. Nobody wants to be that, right? We want everybody to do their job and everybody to do it right and blah, blah, blah. If you don't set it up right from the beginning, it's not going to happen. So
let's talk about that a little bit, because as the owner, the founder, you have a passion for this company. You live and die by this thing. And when you bring people on, you can't expect for them to have that same passion or the same view that you have, right? It's just it's unreasonable. It doesn't happen. So when
nobody cares about your business as much as you do.
And they don't have as much to lose. The whole thing. So when you bring somebody on, how do you initially share with them the vision and get them on board? Like, I think
before you even hire anybody, you've got to, again, we go back to number one. You need to write down your mission, vision, culture, all that stuff needs to be written down, and you need to have that well documented. The second thing that we're going to talk about is professional standards. So I think the two most important things you have. This is the big. We're going to cast a wide net. It's a funnel, so it's going to start big and neck itself down. So number one, mission, vision. That's your vision of the company, what you want the company. That's your guiding North Star overall, right? So that's what we started with. We talked about that. The second part of that is actually writing professional standards. I want my people to look, dress, act, talk like this. We go through and we've written SOPs on door knocking, on cold calling, on we've used our resources and our skills to create sellers guides, downsizing guides, buyers packets.
Here's the thing I love about you too is anytime we come up with a new problem or a new opportunity, your first response is, let's write an SOP on that.
Get it written down.
Let's write the process in which you go through so that everybody on the team, even if we're learning it together, now everyone on the team can see this is how we would process this.
And the key to that is how many times we've gone back and updated it. A lot. All the time, because we do it. As a business owner, you're never going to know what you don't know, right? And most business owners, we started in plumbing, we started in propane. I started in propane not knowing anything, riding around with a 70-year-old propane tech, finding propane leaks with a lighter. Like, probably not the safest way to find a propane leak, but by God, that's how I learned. So I learned that. Well, I had no idea how to build a propane delivery truck, but we did it, and then we wrote the processes, procedures, and that, and then it works until something fails, and then you change it, and you change it, and you change it, and you change it. And that's how everything should be. It doesn't matter the industry, it doesn't matter what it is. When you write it out, whether you know it or not, doesn't matter. You write it out. When you find the first problem, you fix it, and then you fix it, and then you fix it. And guess what? In 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, you have a bomb-proof catalog of information that nobody can take from you. You know what it is. And guess what? Every employee you have knows what it is. So going back to like when you get an employee, number one, your mission, values, all that type of stuff. The first job interview is, hey, this is who we are. This is what we are. These are our mission and values. Do you think you'd be a good fit in this organization? and they read it and they look at it and they're either like, no,
It's not quite the fit that
it's
I'm
not
looking
the fit
for.
that I'm looking for. And then you ask questions about whether it's, I know with us, we're a Christian-based organization and we want to be really professional on the real estate side. Like we're not going to be dancing on countertops, making a bunch of videos that way. So when we interview an agent and we look through their social media and they're more worried about getting clicks than they are about doing a professional job, you're not a good fit for us.
Exactly.
So if apply that to plumbing or accounting or whatever business that you're in, it's the same thing. So I think that's where the due diligence is. Look, this is our guiding North Star. If you don't fit this principle or you don't agree with this principle, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It was great meeting you. Maybe we can cross paths again some other day. Yeah. So you've already started to eliminate people back to the number one thing, which is your guiding North Star. The second thing, which is the professional standard, you outline the professional standard, and I don't care what it is. It's whether we do drug testing or whether we do this or whether we do that, whether we have that. I don't care. It doesn't matter the why or the what. To me, it's your business. Figure it out. But that's how you start asking questions about that and laying it out. If you want people to wear a suit every day and they don't own a suit and they're not going to own a suit, don't hire them thinking that they're going to start wearing a suit, right? Yeah. And I know it's a dumb example, but if you've got a job that you expect this and that's exactly the opposite of what they are, don't try to change them. Just let them be them. Let them do them. There's going to be the right fit for you. Do that. So set up your professional expectations. And I'm not wanting to go down exactly the hiring route on this conversation, but as you have employees, this is, again, the wide scope is the who we are, our guiding North Star, then the professional experience and what that is. Really outline what that looks like and all the different job roles and all the things that you do to try to fix it. Once you have those, then you can start rolling down to the next niche, right? And when you look at these, this is, again, we're looking at the funnel and we're necking this stuff down. So the next thing is going to be roles and expectations. And that's really what today's talk is about. But if you don't understand the whole scope and picture of the funnel to get there, it's going to be missed. One of the key parts of professional standards is, and we talked about this a few minutes ago, we've built a lot of data and a lot of
resources.
Talk about our resources and what we have there and why we like the why behind them, because that's so important.
Yeah. So as we look through that funnel, they get past the first phase, I guess, of they understand the business, they see the greater picture, they're on board for that. The next phase is really talks a lot about how we present ourselves and how we want our team to present our brand. And so for us, we like to put the ball in our court and say, hey, we're going to build the brand. We're going to build the resource. This is how we present. This is how we present with clients, how we present with vendors. These are the ways that we communicate. And there's all different types of ways to communicate.
Can I interrupt for 2 seconds?
Yeah.
You are 2,000% spot on. I think one of the biggest gains of this is where you as an owner, you're still like the funnel like we're talking about. This is still a very top part of the funnel.
Yeah.
We're going to give them guardrails later for them to do their own thing. But this is where you can make sure your brand, your image, what you want your business to look like. When you create documents and you create the stuff that they're using, it's still in your vision of what it is at this level. Now, and you can change it later.
Yeah.
But at this point, especially starting out as a business owner, first time getting this stuff up and going, it is so important. A lot of times you go, well, as I let go and I give different people different jobs and I give them their roles and they're going to run and go whichever way with it, you are still in control. When you make the marketing material or you make the content and you set the expectations, you set all that stuff, this is where you can still set all that and look at that, but it's them doing it, but they've got your brand, your look, your image of the business.
Yeah, it's a small example, but an important one for us. And you mentioned it earlier. Within real estate, just within our industry, you have part of being a realtor is marketing yourself, and you've got to get in front of people. And so different people try to do that in different ways. Some people, like you said, they dance on countertops, they do all these funny TikToks, all that thing, they dress up, the stuff like that. And that's fine. That's an avenue to do that. And that could be a successful way to do it. For us, we're leaning into the professionalism side. Yep. We want to provide value. We don't really care about jumping around and doing the things. We want to show you we're going to provide a really professional experience. We're going to do things exceptionally well. Within our marketing, within our resources, if we're talking to an agent about joining our team and they see, this is the standard that we're going to provide, and they want to go a completely different route, the way that they're wanting to represent themselves within the market, it just allows us, without having to even tell them, it allows us to have that breaking point there of saying, hey, this is what the presentation looks like. Yep. Everybody has their personal brand. Yep. Everybody has their SOI. Everybody has their interest and niches. That's all great.
Yep.
But this is the standard of how we're going to present ourselves well. And that's just one tiny example just through a marketing.
But you can apply that through anything. Whether 100%. It's a CPA firm, here's our onboarding packet for our new clients.
Yeah.
Here's our business consulting packet that talks about what we do as a business consultant. And then it has all the checklist items that you can do. Same thing for a plumber. Here's our marketing resources. It's your brand. It's your image. It's your stuff.
Yep.
You've made it. You've created it. And it gives you the idea. You can now hand that to a salesman, or you can hand that to a service tech or whatever that person is. And they can go follow, in theory, step by step how that works and explain it to customers. And guess what? Your image, your vision of what the company is gets passed to an employee who has the big picture, morals and values, and guiding North Star. Mm-hmm. Then they have the packets and information that you've created and you like. And then now they're teaching that to their customers and to your staff. Like all of a sudden,
and
it's all working for you, not you working for it.
Exactly. And you're not stifling them in any way. You're giving them guardrails to where they can thrive.
Yep.
I think that's the thing, is that when you find a system that works, when you're the best plumber in the area, these are the steps you take. This is how you communicate with your clients. Yep. This is how you're transparent about costs. When that system is already in place, that allows you as the professional to do your job well and to lean into that fully and to empower you to do that. The same is true with any role, a sales role, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
When you have the guardrails, now you know the lane.
Yep. And when you know the guardrails, you know exactly where to put your foot on the gas. And that's what you want every employee to do, right? Like, oh, this guy's lazy. If they knew where they were going and how to get there, you don't think that they would just let her rip. And if they don't let her rip and they just do nothing, well, you've identified it like that.
Absolutely.
Or they're operating outside your guardrails, and then it's an easy conversation. Look, here's this stuff. You're not doing it. Help me understand. That's my favorite word in business. Help me understand. Let them talk. See if it's right. See if it's wrong. See if you understand where they're getting at with it. Either then fix some of your policies, procedures, your write-ups, like, oh, those are really great ideas.
Yeah.
Or, hey, this isn't going to work. You're going down the wrong path. Let's fix it, or you need to move on.
Or what we found even is that maybe they're just in the wrong role within the company.
Happens all the time.
Maybe
wrong shoes on the wrong foot.
Yeah, maybe sales isn't the right spot for them, but compliance might be. And we're trying to fit them into a box that doesn't exist. And as we've gotten to know them, if they've tried the role and it's just not jiving, all right, well, let's shift you into this role.
Yep.
And I think that you'll succeed in this.
Yep. All right. So now we're on to number 3, which is roles and expectations. So I think a lot of people would have gone straight from probably started with the roles and expectations.
You have your job description and you hand them that. You say, here's the role and expectation.
And then let's work backwards. You've got your guiding principle.
Yep.
Then you've got your information. I wrote down professional standards, whether that's, whatever that looks like.
That's the higher level, how you present yourself.
Yep. And then from professional standards, and you got your roles and expectations. Now is where you get to the nitty gritty. And this is where it's hard for business owners, because it does. It takes time. Yeah. And this is not meant to be easy, fast. Like, I can't tell you to do this in 5 seconds. This is something that you need to sit down as a business owner. Every business owner needs to sit down, whether it takes 1 day, whether it takes 1 week, or whether it takes 1 month. You need to sit down and you need to literally go, this is this is truly the podcast to me, that if you want to get your business where it works for you, not you for it, you start with this step at this point. You've heard us talk a lot about this. We've done a lot of these things. To me, this is the podcast that you can actually sit down and start writing this stuff out, and you can start putting rubber meets the road, and you can really, truly start changing your business. And I think it starts with mission, culture, professional standards, roles and expectations. So now we're in the roles and expectations standpoint. And this is where it's nitty gritty. Like, if we want to use our real estate agents, we have multiple different packages that the realtors have when they come on board with us. And this is even a weird thing. This is kind of interesting on real estate. Every realtor's 1099. Like, maybe there's companies that they're not, but like 99% of people in our industry, they're 1099. So I think a lot of, like, me and you, I'm going to say butted heads, but that's more extreme. You came from a mindset of, I'm a 1099 employee, I can do whatever I want. Like, that's why you're a realtor, so you can do this. You go work for a brand, and then you do your own thing underneath it, right? That's kind of how it started. I think what we found as we go, so like, my point is if we can make it work in our industry, anybody can make it work in any industry.
It's like working with sales or volunteers. If you can make it work in that aspect, then you can make it work with somebody you're paying.
And is it working?
Staff. Yeah.
Maybe.
We're learning.
That wasn't very confident, Stefan. No, I think it is. And I think what we found is, and I think this is a good thing, and I think as a younger business owner, and I don't mean age young, but just being new in as a business owner, at first you go, well, I got to have employees and I need to have a certain number of people, and it's already hard enough to get a person to work for me, blah, blah, blah. What I have learned after owning dozens of businesses is I would rather take 3 of the right employees than 30 of the wrong ones. And I think that's easy to say. And you go, well, yeah, that's great. How do you get there? Well, you fire a lot of people, right? Well, that's one method, and I tried that, and it sucks, and it doesn't work very well. Yeah. And then you figure out, oh, Drew, I've done this wrong for years. If I would follow what we're talking about today, yeah, you might not get 20 agents or 20 salespeople or fill all those roles right this second, but you build the structure. When you build and you do this, you start getting the right people that are going to be long-term, that are there for the success of the company, and they understand the mission vision, they understand the expectations, then they understand their job role. And when you start doing that, you get employee buy-in. They're never going to leave you. They're always going to want to be a part of the team, and you're growing something bigger than you. Yeah. And you've created something that people want to be a part of.
Yeah, you're creating a vision. We've talked about it before, but a vision that's large enough for them to hit their goals in. Yep. And I think that it's so important. Now we're going to start talking about expectations within the roles, but as we're moving through this and we're talking through our goals, expectations, I'm going to ask you like a practical question and see what you kind of have to say on this. When it comes to, we're talking a lot about these lack of expectations in certain ways. Can you kind of walk us through on a day-to-day, like within your day-to-day business, where do some of these lack of expectation opportunities pop up that you can jump into? That give us some practical advice.
Okay, so what I just wrote down, which I feel like this is a good segue for that. I wrote down, so we're under role expectations, right? So from a big picture standpoint, this is where you map out, like we have me, the owner, and I kind of watch everything and make sure it happens. Then I've got my techs, then I've got my salespeople, then I've got my AR and AP, I've got my CPA, I've got, a financial advisor, I've got a business coach, right? So you kind of have to look at a big scale of all that, right? Yeah. When we start talking about like where you might miss with some of these, first off, for every job role, you need to have a job description, right? So practically, write a job description. Guess what? You're going to be wrong. You're going to write it, and then you're going to figure out somebody doesn't do it. And that's where you circle back. Every part of this is a living, like this is your business, and it's a living, breathing, moving being. And when it's wrong, you have to go fix it. You're not going to write this out one time and be like, oh, I nailed it. If you did, kudos to you. You're a better man than me. Yeah. The point is, like when you get a new employee, or whether you have an employee now, and then you say, okay, I'm going to redo this stuff, you're going to start right at the top. You're going to work your way down the funnel. Job description, you need to draw a job description and see where stuff overlaps, and you need to have it aligned, right? So it's almost like a pie chart, right? So this role is going to take this section, this role is going to take this section, this role is going to take this section. I always say this jokingly. It was on a skit, Saturday Night Live, I have no idea. It was a Who's in My Mouth. If you have somebody, if me and you are working and you're a salesman and I'm a tech, and me and you are overlapping, there's going to be controversy if we're doing stuff. So you have to clearly, as the owner or as a manager, say, these are your roles, these are my roles, this is where it is. If there's a mutual point where you guys have to work together, that needs to be written out with what we expect or what we want. That's hard, and that takes a little bit of time to get it right. Yep. And then that's managing personalities. Your personality, my personality, they have to match. Probably there's going to be a dominant submissive of some capacity, because this person's going to want to talk to the potential customer or really say this is how it is. I don't know that answer, but you gotta figure out that dance. But you need to make that as clear of a break as you can. But you need to write these job roles out where everything gets done at the end of the day, back to your North Star and what the guiding principle is. And as an owner, you have to figure this out and figure out how to say, this is your job role, this is your job role, this is your job role, and we've covered all the shots and anything that might slip through the crack, blah, blah, blah. This is where it takes a little bit of time, and are you going to sit down in 4 hours and get this knocked out? Abso-freaking-lutely not. Like, not going to happen. It's going to take some time to do it, but that's okay. More effort you put into that, better it gets. And guess what? If you've already got a business going, the best thing you could do is go to your techs and say, hey, I need to build you a job description because I'm building everybody a job description. Help me. Yeah. And I'm not a big proponent of putting everybody in one room because then all of a sudden the inmates run the asylum. But if you could go one-on-one and sit down with people and say, look, I'm wanting to build a job description just to cover all my bases, which gives you clarity and gives me clarity on what gets done. Nobody's in trouble. Nobody's having problems. I'm just trying to set this business up for success and make sure everybody's on the same page. 99% of people are going to love it. If they don't love it, they're probably lying to you, because once you do it, I have found that even in situations where we haven't had job descriptions and we've gone back and you get that, like, why are you doing that? You get pushback from them.
Yeah.
3 months later, once you do it and once it's done, and especially if you let them talk on some of it, speak on some of it, now you got them to buy into the whole process and systems.
Yeah, as you transition from working in the company to on the company, you're less time on the ground, right? You're less time in the transactions. It can be easy for your technicians, for your salespeople to say, this guy, he's asking us to do all this stuff, and he doesn't even understand what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And so those conversations are so important to say, hey, I've done this and I'm a pro at this. This is the business I built. But at the same time, there have been a lot of things that changed since I haven't been going on calls for the last 3 years or whatever.
Help me understand.
What can I do to resource you better? That's a great conversation to have. And then help me understand the expectations.
You have, as a business owner, you have to dive in. And again, if you can, it can literally be on a napkin. It doesn't matter. I'm a big whiteboard guy, and we have glass windows around here, and I just start writing on my things. Whatever works for you. A dude with ADD that's a scatterbrain, I just start writing stuff on a glass board, and then, start at the beginning. A tech. What are the main roles of a tech to do these jobs? Bop, 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 bop. All right, what part of those jobs happen? Bop, 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 bop. And you could just scribble it out however it works on you, whether it's on paper, whether it's on a whiteboard, whether, get your office staff to come help you do this. But if you do that, then you get it kind of broke up into all your thoughts and get it down on paper. Then you can meet with somebody and say, okay, when you go to a job, this is the first step. Then this is the second step. Then this is the third step. And you start systematizing that. It is truly amazing what you start seeing, feeling from these people. And then all of a sudden, you're probably not doing this for no reason. You've had resentment, or then it pops in your mind like, oh, dang, dude, I fired John 2 years ago because we were arguing about this. And this is where he was coming from, and this is where I was coming from. And right there is the spot that caused those problems, right? And that's great. That's you developing as a business owner and learning as a leader and learning how to manage your business and do that. And again, you're going to get it, because I had this happen. When I started doing this in businesses that we didn't do this in, it was like, man, these people are going to hate this. And the next part of this is with the job description is making everybody their job offer. And you're good. Right now you're listening to this being you're going to give them a job offer. They already work for you. You dang right.
Yeah.
You have to give them a new job offer, because here's the thing. And this is part of the conversation. Steve, if I move you to a sales role or I promote you to a different job and I got to bring somebody else in, me and you have learned this for weeks, months, years, whatever that's been, I need to be able to drop the next person in as easily as we can. Or if we expand to a different market or we add another employee, maybe we split it off and Steve, you're doing this group and then the new person would do that group. If I don't have a written clear thing, you don't know what that person's doing. I don't know what that person's doing, and we all have issues. So help me write this good, right? So then
you're literally starting the conversation scaling, and you're not scaring somebody and saying, but you are at the same time having them create the job for their replacement.
For them and for themselves, right? And a lot of times, and then you go, well, what's going to happen? Well, first off, everybody gets scared when there's three things you don't talk about. Politics, religion, and money, right? Well, we're talking about one of them hardcore right now, and it's gonna make people nervous. But if you start the conversation off with look, I'm not doing any of this to hurt you. I'm doing this to set our business up for success for the future.
Yeah.
So me and you are on the same page, and anybody else that's in this organization is on the same page. So everybody in the organization knows exactly what everybody else is supposed to be doing, and we can hold people accountable. And maybe there's a great way to incentivize people to do this. So worst case scenario, you make $25 an hour, Steve. That's what your pay is going to be, but you got to make a job offer for them. So you're going to have a job description, then you're going to make a job offer, and the job offer is going to refer back to the job description. It's going to say, here's your task, here's your goals. If you're interested, we'll probably go over this. We'll probably figure out a way to start getting people these details so they can start making their own data with this.
Yeah.
But make a job description, and then at the bottom, this is the most important part. You can incentivize them however you want. This is where you put the money in. This is where you put their goals and expectations in. The job's from 8 to 5. There's once a week you're on, or once a month, 1 weekend a month you're on call. Like, this is where you add all the caveats into everything, and you get it all on paper. You've had this conversation. You add their pay in there. You do all that stuff. And this is where the most important thing happens. They sign it. They sign it. They sign it. They sign it. Because now you've instilled a mission vision. You've gave the resources and assets to get people to do what you want. You've created an overall job description, and then you've gave a job offer that refers back to that and says, this is what I expect.
And they've agreed to it.
And now they've signed it and they've agreed to it.
And now you have the accountability piece.
Yep.
If there's an issue coming back, we're not drawing to their character. We're not drawing to their laziness. We're just having a conversation. Hey, this is what we have. Help me understand where we're at. Is it a struggle on resource side? Is the truck not providing what you need? Is it a struggle on
1,000%
sales side?
And now all of a sudden you could probably do this in less than a week if you really put some time to it. If you do this, the importance of your business and the ability to manage your employees and the ability to control your business quickly, easily, you just 10x'd what that looks like. And as an owner, when you're running scattered, it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. I've been there.
Your hands in everything.
Your hands in everything. When you have this, all you got to do is sit down with what they signed and flip through it and be like, hey, help me understand why this isn't working.
Yeah.
And maybe they have a great example of why, or an excuse that's really good that you need to change it in the SOP and the whole situation. Maybe they suck. And I know that's two wild different answers.
Yeah.
But now you get to put a number on the middle of it and figure out where it is. And the truth's typically in the middle. And then you either go back and fix it and correct it. You either put that problem on another employee or on yourself to figure out or fix. Or maybe that's, okay, we're asking him to do this, and maybe this is really the salesman's role, not necessarily the tech's role. Mm-hmm. Now you can start tweaking your business and doing that. And then you can start seeing this water cascade down with how it needs to be. And you can have a conversation. It can be an educated conversation. And the thing is once you do this once or twice, it's game over. You've won.
You've set the scene.
You've set the table for success in your business for the rest of its being with that. And that's the most important part. Now, we're not finished by any stretch. But at this point, even if you don't do all of it well and you do it all okay, mm-hmm. you can absolutely transform your business in a week from now, 2 weeks from now. Have those conversations with all the employees, organize this, make it work, get buy-in from the employees that you know is going to get buy-in, start with them.
And it might highlight the people that maybe have been hanging on too long and have been slowing you down as well. Yep. Also, what I love about these written descriptions is that as you stack them across the board, you're going to find the blind spots that your company has been missing. Not only the employees, but you're going to find the opportunities that you have within the company. And so when you've been thinking, man, we're losing money here or we're not gaining where I feel like we should, mm-hmm. now you have everything on paper. Yeah. And you say, okay, I see this opportunity.
But as an owner, now it's measurable and manageable, and you can track it and you can see it. When it's in your head and you're scattered out, you get in this, I'm spinning my wheels, whether it's an income number, we're grossing $1.2 million and I can't get us to, I want to get us to $5 million in gross sales. Yeah. This is what you do to take your business from a good little business to the real deal. Mm-hmm. And then to scale it from the real deal to as far as you want to go. Now it's just a matter of adding a couple of these roles, adding a couple of those roles. You see what the holes are. Maybe you need to get a manager here, so you write that out for this manager role. I'm going to have 3 techs. I'm going to have a general service manager. They're going to handle this stuff. That service manager is now going to talk to the sales side. I got 6-8 salesmen. That salesman's going to have a sales manager. They're going to talk. Now you have built a real business that's scalable for a long time. So you're going right down the path. Next thing, we make these, this thing, I just kind of told Stefan, hang on, we're going to make this podcast today. And it's a handwritten thing. So the next thing is performance goals. Yeah. So this is where you want to keep employees, you want to grow your business. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. Most employees don't leave. Talk about the example of the employee that is wanting to leave and why they're wanting to leave. It's not money, it's...
Yeah, so you have people in roles across the board. You might have somebody in sales, you might have somebody as a technician, you might have somebody in compliance. And when we come across people that are struggling with their role, even though we go through the whole interview process and we're like, this person, I think they're really great with people. They seem like a self-starter. They seem like the sky's the limit for them. You get them into the role and then you realize, man, they actually need very specific guidelines, and maybe the sales side isn't quite where they're at because you're going to give them some freedom to go out. Like they've got to be a self-starter. Maybe now that we've been with them for 6 months and we're seeing the struggles, we need to put them in a much more defined role. And maybe that's in compliance or a technician or whatever that might be. And I think this is so important for who we are as a company. The other thing is we have onboarding packets. And for whatever role that they're in, there's a step-by-step guide. And it's typically a 6 to 8 week step guide. So as they're joining the company, they're onboarding for quite some time. I don't think it's a bad idea to, especially when people are switching roles, but even as you're talking to them, even if you are building the description now, work with them to build the resources for kind of an onboarding guide, but not they've been there forever. But it's allowing them and allowing you to see what resources do they need and that we're missing out on, and maybe what resources are we spending a lot of money on that we're not utilizing. There's a lot of great opportunity there as well.
This is again, this is where, be it take a week or be it take a month or whatever that is, this is where you rubber meets the road on this, and you really build that business for what it is. So that's really great. So on performance goals, this is where then you can start outlining. If you want to take your business from $1.5 million of sales a year to $5 million, this is where you can look and be like, all right, salesman, I've got this all written out. And Steve, you make $25 an hour. You've done great at your sales role, but if you can get us over X number, and if you go back to some previous conversations we have, know your data, know your KPIs, know all that stuff. If you could say, look, we're running, I'm the owner and I'm doing $1.5 million in sales. I've got a new sales guy hired. I expect them, they're not going to be me. I expect them to do $750,000 of sales. All right. Well, what if they do $1 million? Is it worth paying extra for that? Like now you can start questioning yourself and you can start putting stuff in writing. And that's where the performance goals, I didn't put this under the role expectations, even though we talked about doing the job offer. I don't think you're ready until you know, and that sounds weird to say, but like until you've done the job offer and all that stuff, don't give away the farm, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because I found myself where I make these things and then you're so eager beaver to like get this out there. You're like, Steve, you've done great. And I don't want you to be scared. You make $25 an hour now. Now I'm going to give you 5% of everything you sell. Well, next thing you know, Steve does the exact same thing he did the day before. And now you're paying him 5% more, 10% more, and you've taken away from your bottom line and he's not doing any more work. And you're going to go, Drew, you told me on the podcast you're going to get a bunch of da-da-da. And this is how I go from $1.5 million to $5 million. Yes, but you got to incentivize them. If they're already at a baseline, don't give away the farm yet. Watch this. There's going to be, you'll see a little lift right out of the gate. It may fall back off, whatever that is. You can have a conversation. But this is where you can start, and that's why I have it the next step down. Get your jobs, get your job description, get your job offer, get that lined out. Then you start looking at performance goals. This is where you could say the business, where do I want the business to be in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years? How do I do that? Do I have good employees that are able to do more if I ask them or incentivize them to do more? Now that I've got this organized, again, don't do this right out of the gate. I've done that. And I've had success and I've had failure, but I think if you just be patient, get this set up, get it rolling, then you can start looking at your performance goals. This is also a time where you can kind of look at your numbers, talk to the CPA, talk to your business coach, and you can start figuring out, this is what I think we should do. And as a business owner, I've seen business owners on both sides of the fence on this. I think people are all over the spectrum. I'm the type that gives it away more than I'm stingy about it. So like this is where I get nervous and I'm like, I want to keep all my people that do such a good job. Now we've got all this great literature, this great resources. I'm going to incentivize them right now. I think if this is your first time doing something like this is where you need to talk to some people, maybe some other people in your industry and step into it, not just throw money at it, because I've done that where I just throw money at it. And then the next thing you know, you're giving away the farm and you really haven't gained. You have as a business because it's now there. But then when you hire the next person, it's not the same pay structure because you're like, dang, dude, I'm giving too much away. And what are you going to do? Take it back? Like, yeah, that's not a good look. Like that's going to be a fight and a problem when you do that. So I always caution to wait on the performance goals. But this is where you can, what are performance goals all the way across the board, right? If you've got a goal that I want to get the business to 5 million or 10 million in sales, well, what's the baseline number? What's your net down at the end? Is it a net number that you're looking for that you want to make? Is it just a gross number that you want to make? Like why? And I think business owners, a lot of times they want to make more on the top. but what actually trickles down to them. And that's a whole other topic for another day.
Yeah.
So a lot of it to me is looking at the net and trying to incentivize people based on that. Because if you have 3 employees or 30 employees, and at the end of the day, the owner makes the same amount of money, you don't need 30 employees because that's 30 times the problems.
Exactly.
With 3 employees, it's 3 times the problems. Let's make the most money we can with the least amount of people we can. And truly, at the end of the day, that's probably going to be the easiest to balance. Now, truth's always in the middle. You got to kind of mix and match that together. But point being is, don't give away the farm just to get to a big number to be like, oh, man, we sell $10 million of plumbing supplies every year. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you make the same money you made when you did 3, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some pretty substantial companies. One that comes to mind is Circuit City. If you remember Circuit City, they had a really unique and great sales structure or compensation structure for their sales team. And what they found is their sales team was very incentivized by growing their bottom line as well. And so they just outdid themselves. They were full on. They were going above and beyond. And what happened is they started having to pay a lot more to these sales guys than they were really wanting to. But their bottom line kept going up as well. And they got stingy. And then they restructured all of their incentives. And then it just completely collapsed. Yep. So you can't
take it back.
It's a weird balance because it is that, like, do I want to have 30 guys?
What do you think the CEO and the VPs of everything at Circuit City made? Millions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
They made those decisions, and then when they cut it, you can't take it back.
You can't take it back. Yeah. Yep. So I think for us, it's our conversation a lot is we want our guys to be well compensated for what they do. We want it to be a fair wage, but we even want it to be a bit above that because we want to bring the culture for the cost of onboarding, not only the out of pocket.
It's an unmeasured cost that people really don't know or think about.
Culture, motivation, the expense
in learning to mess clients up, to do this, to the service that you add. I mean, when you bring somebody on, it's just going to happen. Like they're not with a new employee. There's going to be times that they put their foot in their mouth, and maybe you can save it, maybe you can't. But there's a cost of getting that person to a certain level. Yeah. And when you to scrap somebody, and that goes back to the whole reason to do this. Mm-hmm. When you add up the dollars lost in, I had to fire 4 people last year in this XYZ role. The amount of damage you've done to your business by trying to get 4 people through the system. Yeah. If you would just slow down to go fast and fix some of this, it's amazing. Yep.
Yeah. Resource your people, provide well for them, but also understand that there's a risk that they could hit the top of the market and go somewhere else. But it's your job as the business owner, as the CEO, as the founder, to provide the culture, to provide the space to where you're saying, hey, you're doing a great job. You could absolutely make more. You could do whatever you want. But right here, we're building a system for you to have more time with your family or whatever your motivation is. If it's more money, here's the steps to do that, to where you're not having to leave to go have to recreate the wheel or build something else. This is a system that works well for you.
And money-wise, that's a piece. There's 3 or 4 things that I think people look at in their, the sociology and the just the makeup of how
motivations for people.
Yeah, how humans' minds work with this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, money matters, but it's not the end all be all. And I think as long as you have if you have a good culture, you appreciate your employees,
genuinely care for them,
and you care for people, and then you give them a fair compensation. And I don't know that this fits every business, but when I have people, you have some baseline employees, jobs that are just kind of base jobs, entry level, whatever you want to call it. That just is what it is. But if they're a serious role in your business, them not having a fixed income where they can earn more money if they do more from performance goals, I wouldn't want to work in a place that I couldn't earn kind of as much as I want by doing performance. Now,
there are some people,
a cap? Sure.
Yeah, and there's some people that literally they just want to have that weekly paycheck. Yep. To where that's their comfort zone. That's where they want to be. And there's some people that are whatever. They want to have that. And if that's
the case, you just got to figure out what that looks like. Maybe they want to be I like my base. I want my base to be really close, and that's good. And then other people, there's salesmen that are like, I don't want a base. I just want flat out, give me the commission and get out of my way. Yeah. So you got to figure out if that works for your business. That goes back to your North Star, blah, blah, blah. Performance goals is the last thing we talked about. Now we're going to talk about accountability. And I think this is accountability on both sides. This is the owner's accountability just as much as the employees. You need to sit down when you make this. You need to sit down once a month for the first 12 months. Anytime you have a new hire or when you start this, for the next 12 months, once a month, one-on-one with the employee to see what you need to change in your documents and then what they need to change, and have that give and take relationship where you're talking about this.
Yeah.
This will help the employee feel like they're being heard. This is going to be that part of it. And then it allows you to make sure what you've done is right. And this is not just a cut and dry, I made this stuff, this is how it is, kick rocks if you don't like it. Because then you're going to be coming back to us saying, man, I implemented what you said. I lost 15 people and you've ruined my business, and you shouldn't, right? Like you're going to set these expectations, set these goals. And then every month you need to go back, because if you've set expectation and goals that you think are real, and then you see people are failing, missing it, and then you go fire them, or now you're like, well, you're not doing your stuff. Most employees don't want to do a bad job. And this is where you have to go in and see what that looks like and make sure what you've put on paper, what you've put pen to paper, is actually working in the real world. Rubber meets the road, common sense versus this stuff. And when we got to make sure it works. So every month you need to go back with accountability. One, they've signed their stuff. So you could sit down and say, hey, you signed that you can do this, and we sat down and made this together. Why isn't this working? And if they give you good reasons why not, so be it. That's a hard conversation. The easy conversation is, hey, we're going to meet. Maybe if you have 6 employees, do 2 of them a week, divide them up, do 2 of them a week, or 8 employees, once a month, whatever that is. First, second, third week of the month, we're going to sit down and have a conversation, take them to lunch, take them to breakfast, do something quick. Doesn't need to be a big, long thing, but how is this working? Do you think this works? Of this job description, of this role, what would you change today? Do you think this is still working? More you dial that in, long-term, better it's going to be. Yes, it's work. At least do it once a month. Let the employees know they're being heard. It allows you to be a better manager. It allows you to see what's happening where you may not be there every day. And you're going to hear all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah, it allows you to build the systems that work well for them as well. Just like from I'm sure from 3 to 10 employees, business owners feel like all they do is put out fires all day.
Yep.
When you get this down and you really start to work out what their description is, now you have the systems to support them.
I always say when I see managers or people that have worked for me being a fireman, running fire to fire to fire to fire, the system's broken. That's on me. Let's get it figured out. And if that's what your business looks like right now, do this. This will fix it. If you as a business owner are running around being a fireman, this is how you fix it. And then you don't just think you put it out and run away and don't ever check it again. Put it out. I mean, you could talk into your phone and say, remind me in 6 weeks to go over this with everybody again. Every month, every third of the month, we need to have a conversation with the team about this. Like, it could be so basic. Put it on your calendar, put it on a reminder, and do a little bit. If you just do a little bit with this, if you get this set up and do a little bit to maintain and massage it and make it better, again, in 2-3 years from now, you're going to have an amazing, amazing business.
Yeah, man. I think these first 3 steps, we have 6 steps, and I think that's going to make too long of a podcast. I think what we do is, the next thing that's on our mind with this is really going back to the why. But let's end this here. This is a good conversation. These are really some great steps to take right now that you can implement today. You can start to build out, and then reach out to us. We've built the resources for our specific business. We'd be happy to share templates and of what we've done and share what we've got. But within the industry, there's a lot that goes together. So I think there's a good opportunity for us. We can share what we have. And if you have some questions, we'd love to help.
Absolutely.
I mean, Drew's been doing this with a lot of different industries, and he would love to have a conversation.
Yeah. If this is something that you're watching this going, man, I need this, put something in the comments. If you're listening, we've got a Facebook page that we've made for this now. We're building a landing page. We started this 10 episodes ago, 11 episodes ago, and we were just kind of playing, doing this. We've got so much good reviews from people and people reaching out saying how they like this. So if you do, be patient. We're going to get a little more organized on our end where you can talk to us better, build landing pages, stuff like that. But definitely let us know. It helps us know which paths to go down that people are liking that we're talking about.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you have a great week. Let's be better leaders this week, and let's be organized. Let's be clear with our expectations. And I am really hoping, and I know this is the case, your business will succeed because of it. Thank you so much for listening to the Founders Table.